Hey friends, it's Kimberly. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if it's the first time you've been here. Today we are in Exodus 15, talking about the waters of Marah. And so that's actually 15, 22 through 27. And I love the story of Exodus. It's one of my favorite stories in the Bible. But whenever I've heard of, the waters of Marah, you may have heard of this story. The word Marah means bitter. And I was praying earlier and the word Marah came up. And I'm like, Lord, are you calling me bitter? like what? What is this Marah thing? Like, seriously? Like, am I bitter? And so I'm searching my heart and I'm like, I don't feel bitter. Maybe I'm bitter. Maybe I don't even know I'm bitter. like what's up with this Marah? Why bitter? So I was doing some research online, couldn't find anything new that I didn't already know, that basically it's the place where the Israelites went and they said the water was bitter. And so they called it Marah, which means bitter. So then I decided, well, instead of just reading Wikipedia, I'll actually go to the Bible. That's a good clue, you guys. Go to the Bible instead of Wikipedia. You guys, I've been punchy and sassy all day today. So you guys are getting extra sass today. So anyway, I went and read it and I just asked for fresh eyes on it. Now that looks like a smiley face. It really wasn't meant to be. It was just supposed to be okay, so it went from a bitter place to a healing place. But it's a cute smiley face for now anyway. Okay, back to the story. So I'm trying to read this and I'm like, Lord, show me with fresh eyes what I'm supposed to be learning from this word Marah. I don't know if you're calling me Marah, if that's something, if I'm a whiner, or if I'm being whiny about something, or I'm bitter about something, or there's something I need to learn. And when I got there, what really stood out to me was the transformation that happened at Marah. I don't think God was trying to tell me that I was bitter. I have been bitter in my life, folks. So, true confessions. Of course, I've been bitter about different things, but I'm not currently bitter. I don't have a spirit of bitterness or anything in me right now, or any situation that's causing bitterness. So that's why I was so confused. But I think He wanted to show me this really beautiful transformation. So there's this place that was named Marah, which means bitter, but the place never stayed bitter. And so to me, this was all about focus. Where do we put our focus? So this poor little place that the Israelites went to, this was one of the first places that they went to where they finally stopped and rested after they had been chased out of Egypt by the Egyptians. They had to have been exhausted. And they ran deep into the desert, and after 3 days, they came to this place of Marah, where it actually had water, and it was the first water they had seen in 3 days. And so they were all excited. It'd be if we were going on some big hike and we hadn't had water in 3 days and it was a desert. That'd be horrible. And they finally get there and then they start complaining because the water is bitter. Now it says the water is bitter. I don't know if that means that they just didn't want to drink it, or if it actually was not just tasted bitter, but they knew something was wrong with the water and they should not drink it. It wouldn't be healthy. That would be my guess. Although the Israelites do get kind of whiny, and so do we as humans. But so maybe it just didn't taste good. But I'm going to give the Israelites credit on this one and say that the water, there was something, they just knew there was something wrong with the water. And so they were saying, what do we do now, Moses? What do we drink? And it said the people were grumbling against Moses. They just saw this huge miracle 3 days before. They escaped the Israelites. They are now free people for the first time in 400 years. And they're whining 3 days into this 40-year journey. This is not good, folks. But Moses cried out to the Lord. That was his first thought. The people's first thought was cry to Moses. And my guess is because they'd been enslaved. They only knew a relationship of enslavement. Like they were looking to a master, and now their master in human form was Moses. So they were whining to Moses, like, okay, you said this is a good deal. You said we were going. God said we were fleeing. Okay, but this is not good now. We are thirsty and the water is terrible. So let me pause this little lesson. This was my little trick so that you can write on top of gelatos in your Bible. You just put a little layer of school glue over the top of it. It dries clear. It doesn't go yellow. It doesn't do weird things. It doesn't have like a sticky surface once it's dry. And you can write on top of it, and you can even write on top of it in like things like Sharpies and things like that that bleed terribly through Bible pages. And so it's also a really good page protector, and it's just a lot less expensive. Now, I don't know if it's archival quality, so if you're doing a Bible that you want to pass down, I would not trust glue from the dollar store. I'd use an art product like gesso or something like that, or matte gel medium. Either of those would be trustworthy as far as something that, you know, like a family heirloom kind of thing. But this is just my personal Bible. I don't expect anybody's ever going to look at it. If they do, well, you guys got to see it first, right? So anyway, so yeah, these are die cuts from, almost all these die cuts are, well, a few of them are ones that I had, and then these ones are from All People, All Nations, from my Purpose Driven Essentials kit. But the All Peoples, All Nations stuff is also at Illustrated Faith. So you can always get these die cut pieces because they're a part of a big product line that they launched at the beginning of this year. So I put these two little continents together because I'm not feeling inspired by these continents, and I'm trying to figure out how to use these pieces. So I'm like, I'm going to put them together and turn them into like the waters of Marah, like a little lake. I don't know if that looks like a lake to you guys, but it's a symbolic lake, you guys. Australia and Africa just got turned into, or was that the United States? Maybe it was the United States. You guys, oh please, I need to stop now before, first I had grammar issues, now I have geography issues. Okay, let's get back to the story and what God taught me, because that's better than geography and grammar. Okay, so basically the Israelites are whining already. 3 days into this journey, they're panicking because they don't have water. They finally find water, and it's bad. They can't drink it. And so they whine to Moses. This was probably the first little taste that Moses had of all of his whiny little Israelites that he had to deal with all of the rest of his life. And he had the patience of a saint, as my mother would say. And so he went straight to the Lord. They didn't think of that yet, and I think that's interesting. But Moses went straight to the Lord, and he said, what are we going to do here? And so the Lord showed Moses a log, and he threw the log into the water, and it instantly became drinkable. And then God said, it was the first ruling and instruction that God really gave the Israelites when after they had become free and they were in the desert. He said, quoting verse 26 here, "If you listen carefully to the Lord your God and do what is right in his eyes, if you pay attention to his commands and keep all his decrees, I will not bring on you any of the diseases that I brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you." And that's what I ended up drawing a little flower around, was I am the Lord who heals you. Because the water went from something that I'm guessing could have made them sick to something that could heal them, a place of healing. Like this place was marked, and it was called Marah, and they still try to search for. They're not exactly sure where this actual spot is in the desert, but they try to figure it out, and it's still called Marah. Like if they found the place, they would name it Marah. And so this poor little place is still called bitter, but look what happened there. God promised them something huge. He promised them healing. So for me, as I was praying through this and thinking through this, as I was doing the art, because I always do my art first and then I do this voiceover, because I always learn stuff as I'm as I'm doing my art. And you guys know by now my art is not like meant to be beautiful. It's more just trying to express with symbols and words and colors what I'm learning, what God's teaching me through the word. So I write over here, they went from bitter and enslaved to sweet and free. And that this is for me too. Like in life, I can look at the bitter water from a slave's point of view, or I can look as someone who's free in Christ and see the sweetness that God's providing. And I think that perspective of more optimism, seeing where God is on the move, seeing where God is providing instead of looking at lack, has really served me well in a lot of times. Now, I can't say I've been that way all the time. There are times where I'm like the Israelites and I'm like, God, this is pretty gnarly. Would you please help me out here? Hey, nice hair. Good thing I washed it today. Just kidding, but I did. But I've been the Israelite who was whiny about the water. I've been the Israelite who couldn't see anything but places where God wasn't providing that seemed obvious. Like it seems like if you're going into the desert and God's taking you there, he's going to give you water. But they'd gone for 3 days, and 3 days is a long time for the human body to go without water. And so whether it's been finances or relationships, friendships, or just different situations that have been hard that I've gone through, I feel like I can either look at them and call them the place of Marah, which is bitter, or I can look at it and go, okay, where is God on the move? Because God is not stagnant. He's not that bitter water. He's sweet. And so where do I need to find the sweetness of God? In what situation? Where do I see him acting? And how do I then partner with him in those areas where he is active and alive and turning bitter water into sweet water? In the New Testament, it talks about taste and see that the Lord is good. Well, this is like physically what they did right here in the Old Testament. They tasted and saw that the Lord was good. So of course I had to put coffee cups at the top of my page up there because that's some good sweet drinks right there. So anyway, I just had to throw those in because they were cute and they're sweet. And actually I spend a lot of time in coffee shops hanging out with God. But I was just kind of blown away by this, and I just pointed out that, wow, God, like, it's all about perspective, friends. And so look today, find out where God is being sweet, where he's providing, and where he's showing you a place of comfort and rest, and follow him there. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.